Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you again for checking back in for another proverb. We're still in Proverbs chapter 19. I've picked out 3 verses to share with you. They're not all in a row. They all kind of have the same thing. And that's the thing about Proverbs. It can just be so random and so choppy. And that's one of the reasons it's so hard to study and get a beat on. But anyhow, Proverbs chapter 19. So yesterday we did the first 3 verses, I believe, and I think I talked about being deliberate, about choosing to follow the Lord. And so today is really kind of a follow-up on that. In verse 16, it says, he who keeps the commandment keeps his soul, but he who is careless of his ways will die. You see, we do need to be very deliberate. If following the Lord is what keeps us, if following the Lord is what captures our soul, if following the Lord is what puts us in the right place to follow Him and to be where He is, then we need to be very careful and we need to be very deliberate about how we do that. Let me tell you something. If there's one thing that I've learned over the many years of trying to follow the Lord and just giving it what I had, there's one thing that's very clear. It doesn't happen by accident. Following the Lord, being in God's will, putting yourself in a position for God to use you doesn't happen by happenstance or by accident. It's a very deliberate choice where you have to place yourself under His submission, submit under Him, under His authority, and under His commandments as you seek to follow Him. So if you keep the commandments, he who keeps the commandments keeps his soul, but he who is careless of his ways will die. And then verse 21 says, there are many plans in a man's heart, nevertheless the Lord's counsel, that will stand. You see, we have all kinds of plans. We have all kinds of things. And especially as a pastor, I'm always dreaming up things I want to do for God. But you know what? God's got His own purposes and God's got His own ways. And what we need to do is we need to, even as a pastor, I have to put the plans in my heart aside, because I know that it's God's purposes that are going to stand forever. I've got to get on board with God's purposes and stop asking God to get on board with my purposes. And so this is something that's difficult to do in the heart, but it's God's counsel, it's God's plans, it's God's purposes. Those are the ones that are going to stand. Those are the ones that are going to be last forever. Those are the ones that are going to bear the fruit that He wants to do. So I need to get on board with Him instead of trying to get Him to get on board with me. So if I'm going to keep His commands, I'm going to keep my soul. If I'm careless of my ways, I'm going to die. I need to follow His purposes and get on board with His purposes, because they are the ones that's going to stand. Verse 23, the fear of the Lord leads to life, and he who has it will abide in satisfaction, and he will not be visited with evil. I've talked to you a lot about the fear of the Lord and about how it's understanding who He is and us surrendering our lives to Him and submitting our lives to Him. And so he says the fear of the Lord leads to life, and he who has it will abide in satisfaction. He's using an image here of a traveler, and traveling wasn't easy in those days. It wasn't easy to find a safe place to stay. There was always trouble. There were always robbers. There were always street bandits out there as they travel. But here he's using this idea of a traveler, and he says that if you are following the Lord, if you have the fear of the Lord, and if you have surrendered to Him, then you don't have to worry about the journey. You're going to be safe. You're going to be satisfied. You're going to have plenty to eat. He's talking about your soul. Your soul is going to be satisfied. Your soul is going to be safe. Your soul is going to be secure. Reminds me of when Jesus said, I have come that you might have life and that you might have it abundantly. Not just scratching through, but that your soul would really be complete and full. Reminds me of the Hebrew word shalom, which we translate as peace, but is so much bigger than peace. It means well-being in your innermost parts, well-being in your soul. It just means goodness and greatness and satisfaction and contentment in your heart and in your soul with life. And so that's what this means. So follow the Lord, keep your soul, get on board with His purposes, fear the Lord, and find contentment in your heart. Get out there in faith today. God bless you guys. Love you. Bye.